The time has come for my people to go.
I'm not a queen, I'm a servant of the people. I'm not a king, I'm a servant of the people. It's what the people demand, and we gonna keep fighting till we get that land. I'm not a queen, I'm a servant of the people. I'm not a king, I'm a servant of the people. It's time to rise to get what we want, we got to organize.
Welcome to the Pantsula Podcast, brought to you by the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. We define Pan-Africanism as the unification and liberation of Africa under scientific socialism. I'm Comrade Evan, this is my comrade Jeffrey, and we're here with Bomani Shakur, of the Provisional Government of Republic of New Afrika. And as we always do in the Pantsula Podcast, we always like to honor our ancestors, because without them, we wouldn't be doing the work that we're doing. So I'd love to have Jeffrey introduce the ancestors that we're honoring today.
Yeah, so for this episode, we're honoring two ancestors, as Evan has stated, one of them being Herman Ferguson. He was actually a former member of the OAAU, which is the Organization of Afro-American Unity, which was founded by Malcolm X, and also a member of the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. And then also, given the episode we're having now, he was also one of the members of the Republic of New Afrika, I believe, which he joined in 1968. So yeah, Herman Ferguson did a lot of great work. Black nationalists, revolutionary Black nationalists. So we like to definitely commend this episode to him, given the episode we're having today. And then also the other ancestor we're dedicating this to is Mama Afeni Shakur. As a lot of people know, she is the mother of Tupac Shakur. She's also a former Black Panther Party member, as well as part of the Panther 21. She did a lot of legal work for Panther members back in the day in the 60s, things of that nature. Also a known activist and author as well. So I guess we'll go ahead and jump right into it. I see here we have, as you guys can see, we have Bomani Shakur on the line here. Glad to have you here. And maybe if you could just give a brief intro to yourself and talk about the origins and the foundation of the Republic of New Afrika.
Okay. First off, I'd like to thank you, brothers, for inviting me to your broadcast. Thank you for the work you're doing in the past, present, and the work you're doing in the future. One thing I'd like to start, I would like to make add on to what you were saying. Herman Ferguson, one of the founding members of the Provisional Republic of New Afrika. He also the first Minister of Education. And also, Mama Afeni Shakur was a conscious New African citizen as well. That was just a historical correction in regard to people seeing certain things. Well, first off, my name is Bomani Shakur. I have been a conscious New African citizen since 2002. I have served in various ministries, from the Ministry of Youth to the Ministry of Information, and being the Ministry of Information myself right now currently. Some of my origins related to, I'm an active member of the Black August Organizing Committee. I'm an active member of Imari Action Network. I'm a member of George Jackson University. I'm the host of Georgia University Radio. I'm also a co-host of Provisional Republic of New Afrika radio show. I'm also a part of the local organization, my population district, known as the People Party for Independence. That basically who I am. I'm an overall New African freedom fighter, New African historian. Every opportunity I see in regards to propaganda, I make sure we control the narrative as much as possible, because it didn't control the propaganda. Information is power, and I also understand that education for liberation in regards to the people. Now, in regards to the origin of the PG, I'm gonna tell you like this. The first thing that actually popped it off historically is the writing of the book, The War in America, the Malcolm X Doctrine, written by Dr. Imari Obadele. The book was written in May 1966. That was the first time written. Then it revised again August 1966. And another version came out in 1991. And the book War in America, the Malcolm X Doctrine, with the foundation. Previously, in the following year, So I'm gonna take it back. The following year, Dr. Imari Obadele, A-APRP, and others, they founded the Malcolm X Society. They founded the Malcolm X Society. The reason they founded the Malcolm X Society and got the Malcolm X because Imari Obadele and Imari Obadele was part of what they call Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM. Malcolm X also aware he was an international spokesman. And due to RAM, due to affiliation with RAM, Malcolm X was able to travel to foreign countries and talk to other dignitaries. And actually the only individual from a New African or American, so to speak, or African descent that were able to speak at the African Union during the time he went there in 1964. He was the person loud. When he spoke about all the genocide atrocity that New African people face in America. And then also understand how the African people really relate to certain things all over the diaspora. Well, you know what I'm saying? All of them was in RAM. The Willie Bobby Herman Ferguson, which is another founding member of the Provisional government. Maxwell Stanford, who was a co-founder of RAM, also was a founding member of the Provisional program. Queen Mother Moore was also a founding member. You know, Dr. Pantsula Shakur was also a founding member of the Provisional government, Republic of Afrika. All of them was in RAM, well as Robert Williams, you know, who was the first president of Republic of Afrika. He wasn't a founding member, he was the first president. Okay, all the people were part of the Revolutionary Action Movement. The Revolutionary Action Movement, it paved the way for the Black Liberation Movement at a particular time because when it first started, the only thing that was actually available at the time was SNCC. And SNCC Association and affiliation with RAM encouraged SNCC to be revolutionary. So they went from Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee to Student National Coordinating Committee. You know, and another person that was involved with SNCC was Imari Jimmy Alameen, Kwame Ture Brown, who was the founder of the Provisional program. He was the first minister of defense. You know, and the provisional government, then the thing that really set the callous was in March the 15th, 1968, the Malcolm X Society sent a letter out to everybody that was involved in struggle, revolution, and Pan-Africanism, whatever it may be. They sent a letter out, and a letter was asking people to meet in Detroit on the weekend, the 12th night, the 30th and 31st. And the purpose of the meeting was to have a government meeting. We're going to be discussing independence, land, territory, nationality, reparation, other things and such, right? So they put the initial call out then at that time. And then this happened in Detroit. It happened in Detroit, Michigan. It happened, took place in different places. A lot of people staying in the 20 Grand Hotel, but that was on a Friday where they were having various little meeting, people talking, discussing things. But it wasn't until that Saturday and that Sunday where they actually had a 2-day meeting in regard to the government conference happening. The people, like I said, people have a conversation with that Friday, which is the 29th. Okay, and during the 2-day discussion, it was agreed that we're gonna be New Africans. They're gonna have a provisional government. We're gonna have our own military. We're gonna have our own politics, our own structure. And when you take that out of consideration that Queen Mother Moore was the first person to sign the Declaration of Independence of March 30, 1968, and she also was a Garveyite. Taking into consideration, when you read the book Philosophy of Martin Garvey, he talks about the new Negro. He talks about new Negro, being a new Negro all through the book. But he also talks about going back to Africa. You know, we understand that Martin Garvey never made it back to Africa physically. But mentally in mind, he was there. So by speaking about new Negro, he reached being a new African. And also he said that he spoke that where's our flag? Where's our government? Where's our army? Where's our men of big affairs? And so forth and so on. The provisional government answered that because Martin Garvey also had a provisional government. He had the first provisional government for African people globally. And New African people, he had the first provisional government. Provisional government, Universal Negro Improvement Social African Community League. You know, he had the first provisional government. You know, he had the first provisional. Also, another person that was there at the beginning of our Republic of New Afrika, Sister Diary Carver, also was a Garveyite. You know, a Sister Diary Carver, Queen Mother Moore, were part of the organization Ethiopian women. They were fighting for reparations and other things, but before the provisional government even founded. Now, Queen Mother Moore was the one responsible for naming the military of the New African military, the provisional government known the Black Legion. The Black Legion was the name she took from the Black Legion or the UNIA, ACL, or the Garveyite, the Black Legion. You know, so she took these particular standpoints and brought them to the Republic of Afrika. And she also, like I said, she was the first person to sign the Declaration of Independence. It was a popular story that floats around that Queen Mother Moore and Barbara Papa Wales, known as the Answer Apostle, which is one of the first original members of the Nation of Islam in Detroit. The popular story read that they were fighting to sign the Declaration of Independence. So she supposedly tripped him. She tripped him up. When she tripped him, she got him first in line. She signed the Declaration of Independence. He was second in line. You know, and they consider the elders. They were already elders already during that time in particular. Queen Mother Mo she was an elder. She was an elder around. She was one of the elder council members around. And Papa Well was an elder also at that time as well. Being involved very from, like I said, one of the original members of Nation Islam. You know, Nation Islam go back 1930. And then 1968 at the time. So he was an elder already at that particular time, you know. So they're like they were the popular story in regards to those two individuals. You know, the Declaration of Independence, our declaration saying that who we are, we're African people, new African people. You know what I'm saying? They're descended from African people. And the new African aspect of that, we're not the original African people. We're no longer the Fulani, the Ashanti, the Mandinka, so forth, so on. We are new breed of people that been forcibly brought into America, the Chinese shackles, and forced to accept very culture and ideology and mixed with different nationalities to build a new people, a new African people. You know, and the push for independence had been going on before we even brought over here. You know, you look at the different aspects of the different African countries and civilizations. We've been finding European people for a long time, for centuries, to be independent because of our nature. Like, if you take the story of the people of Kenya, people of Kenya, and their concept of ideology, they actually profess that the land was ordained to them by the Creator, by the Creator. So there's no one in the world that you gonna let somebody take land from you ordained to you by the Creator. Even look at the aspects of the Metanetta and Kemet. You know, the people of Kemet, you know what I'm saying? People of Kemet, people that are free. That's what they form in Metanetta, Mother Nature. We are free people. Even you look at a lot of our mythologies, we always associate things with nature because we're free people. We walk around having access to gold, diamond, ruby, sapphire, and so forth and so on, like they had no value to it because it was such an abundance of it, right? In form of those particular respects things. Well, the original, I'm going to go back to the original cabinet. The original cabinet consists of various people. For instance, the first president was Robert Williams. At that time, Robert Williams was in Africa. At that time, he was in Africa at the time when they presented it to him. And while he was in Africa, he accepted the presidency. But at that time, Imari Obadele was the first vice president. And he was acting at the president until Robert Williams came over here. And the second vice president at that time, original cabinet, was Dr. Betty Shabazz, which is the wife of Malcolm X. And the first minister of information was Dr. Imari Obadele. You know, he also was the first minister of interior as well. The first minister of education of the cabinet was Baba Herman Ferguson. And there were three ministers or coaches at that particular time, the original cabinet. There was Imari Baraki, aka Leroy Jones, who won the finals of the Black Arts Movement, Black Steady movements, especially on the East Coast. He also founded the Congress of African People. You know, then you also had King Surgeman Adafume, who founded the Ocean African Village in 1970 in Southern South Carolina. He actually the one that brought Ifa to America in 1959 when he first started the first temple in New York called the Shango Temple. That was in 1959. Okay. Then the other co-minister of culture was Dr. Malane Karinga, who commonly associated being the founder of Kwanzaa. But he just took the credit for it. He just commonly associated being the founder of Kwanzaa because of his credentials. You know, he also was pushing the culture nationalist movement, as well as the founder of the United Us movement. Some called it the United Slaves. Those are the minister of cultures. Okay, the minister of Health Society, Queen Mother Moore. Okay, the first minister of defense was Imam Jimmy Alameen, aka H. Brown. You know what I'm saying? And the deputy minister of defense was a brother named Wade Sichui. Okay. Now the treasurer was a brother named which was an elder brother out of LA named Obawole. Okay. The minister of Justice was a sister named Joanne Franklin. Or she came out of NAACP. You know, just like Dr. Robert Williams came out of NAACP, was a member of RAM, you know, the Black Armed Guard, you know, and then you also had Maxwell Stamp, who was a special minister of our portfolio. Okay, let me see what else. Who else was a founder? Let me see who else was a cabinet member. Okay, information, education, interior, culture, president, vice president. Let me see. Because our government functions upon the cabinet. It functions upon the cabinet, right? And you look at that particular aspect. For instance, when you look at when Kwame Ture gained independence in Ghana in 1957, he established his government the same with the Provisional government established in regard to ministry, interior, ministry, education, things, so forth, so on, right? He established the same particular way. And we know Kwame Ture also was a student of Marcus Garvey. He actually meeting Marcus Garvey by coming to New York, as well as another inspiration that inspired that Marcus Garvey inspired was Ho Chi Minh, who founded the Provisional government of Vietnam in 1945. You know, he also coming to New York to meet Marcus Garvey. So you have a foundation. You had people call themselves Garveyites, and you had the people that were Malcolmites. You know, and from the Malcolmite, you had the Provisional government of Republic of Afrika. You had now what you called the Black Panther Party self-defense. You have the independent movement. A lot of people in the Black liberation movement were inspired by Malcolm and being Malcolmites. But Malcolm X himself was a Garveyite by birth. Even mom and dad were Garveyites. You know, just in that particular aspect, those were like some of the origins. When I during the Declaration of Independence, contrary to popular belief, there actually were 200 people that signed the Declaration of Independence. With 200, it was a little bit over 200 people. It wasn't 100 people that people say. That the contrary to popular belief, right? And a lot of the individuals who signed the Declaration of Independence came from different walks of life. That some people were communists, some people were socialists, some people were anarchists, some people were spiritualists, some people were Moors, some people were Hebrew. They came from different walks of life, right? But they all agreed to that we gotta have a landmass, a location, and a government to actually function ourselves, because we don't try everything. We don't try we don't apply revolutionary nationalism. We don't try pan-nationalism. We don't try being more. We don't try being nation. We don't try all these very things, right? So now we've got to come to something that actually going to give us substance and help identify what I was struggling in particular right now in America. You know, that's not to take away that we're African people globally, because one of the first things that was clear during that time is that we understand that the first flag of liberation was the Garvey flag established in August 1920, right, by Marcus Garvey. You know, he also understand that he pushed the plebiscite as well. So we all pay homage to him. We all pay homage to Marcus Garvey. So during the early days, we would fly. At certain time, we would fly 2 flags, and Yaki Obadele made it known that we're gonna use them same colors that are internationally been existing 1,000 years ago. There was existing 1,000 flag been covered this and red and green was existing 1,000 years. They're gonna be our colors, but instead of it being Garveyites, or promoting that flag, we're gonna change the colors around, because we say free the land, just the fact that Malcolm X already internalized the land and based independence. That's what I call the Malcolm X doctrine. That's what the Malcolm X doctrine is spoke about in the New African Creed. You know, it spoke about in our documentation, in our literature, so forth and so on, right? So that's why we say free the land, because land is based independence. So we change the flag around. We change the color around from green and black, red, black. We change it around from green, red, and black. They're black at the bottom. You know, the reason we changed around because we understand we was at war. That's what the war in America was about. America, we was at war. And until we get our independence, provisional means temporary. We're temporary until we figure out a government we really want to have, in particular, to sustain our nation. So the flag, the color around, because it's a war flag. Green at the top for land, which is the base our independence. Red is in the middle and smaller, because we understand that we must shed blood to get what we need. And all the blood we shed doesn't mean we shed our own blood. And it's smaller because once we start shedding blood, everyone's sitting alone to get our independence. And black is at the bottom due to the fact that economically, socially, politically, financially, and other levels, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. So we that same nation of people trying to get to the top to get the land, which is basic independence, which is a struggle that's been going on. Even you go back to 1526, back to 1619, 1627, so forth and so on. We all been fighting for land independence because there have been very independent settlements all throughout the 15th century, 16th, 17th century in America, well, the 18th century, that were independent and tried to fought for independence. You know, especially when we go to the slave rebellions, slave rebellions, which we're going to turn slave riots, whatever, slave rebellions, revolts, rebellions. Those things we've been pushing for it in regard to that aspect. So, and our first, like I said, our first document, Declaration of Independence, came in 1968. We came out with a New African Oath in 1969. We came out with the Code of Moja, which is our Constitution, 1970. And we also, in 1968, we had the Black Legionnaire, which is our army, our military apparatus. We had the breeding of program. We also had what you call the people militia, with the people that was in different communities and areas that was in the militia. They were trained as well in physical aspect. So we had a tradition of training all our presidents in the military aspect to be able to defend themselves. Because we believe in self-determination and self-respect in regard to who we are. So that was our tradition in regard to our people, right? And we also came up with a document in 1970 called the New African Ujamaa, which were inspired by Julius Nyerere. When at that time, our Minister of Economic Development at that time had went to Africa and stayed for a couple of months. And he actually met Julius Nyerere, who inspired him through the aspect of African Ujamaa, inspired a new African Ujamaa. And he brought the document back and created a new African Ujamaa as an economic system for our people and our nation. So they did like some of the things. They did like some of the define it. Some of the things that transpired throughout the years, because consider it. Our academy will function from 68 to 69, right? It functioned for that time, in 2 years. It was functioning. Then in 1970, the government took a different direction. It went from being a prisoner government, it being the structure, and being the Ujamaa Committee, being the leadership, the Ujamaa Committee. Ujamaa Committee was a 5-member council, a 5-member body that made all the decision in particular. Instead of having like the ministry, the cabinet wasn't controlling the government. It actually was the Ujamaa Committee. They asked the Ujamaa Committee after the Ujamaa Committee dissolved, went back to being a prisoner government again. It went back to start having president, ministers, and all that again, right? But it only lasted a couple of months with the Ujamaa Committee, like officially like 90 days, so to speak. Then when it came back, it was like the reason a lot of that happened because in 1969, right, March 29, 1969 in Detroit, Michigan, we were having what you termed at that time Black Nation Day. Now we call it New African Nation Day. Now, and New African Nation Day or Black Nation Day at that time in particular was a commemoration to commemorate the founding of the Republic of New Afrika, to commemorate that. So we were having it at New Bethel Church in Detroit, Michigan, with the church of Aretha Franklin, dad of Rebel Franklin. So the different people in the prison government, different organizations like different people from RAM and different people from African People Party, different people, different formation. Were there and we go out there and engage into the festivities and everything. So we was attacked. When we were attacked, we defended ourselves, and a pig was killed, but we lost no casualties. Okay, so they incarcerated like over 100 citizens and everything. They incarcerated them, but they released them. And
call from somewhere. Sorry, I'll be back. Let's keep on going.
Okay. Yeah. They released our people at that time, and after that situation, we started. Things kind of changed somewhat. Things changed somewhat to a political aspect, changed in certain aspects of our origin. Because after that happened, we developed the aspect that we need to have more units, a cadre unit, so to speak, cadre units in existence. We also understood that we must have different regions. So then at that time, it became known that we had regional vice presidents. And the regional vice president with different people. So for instance, Chocolate Mumu won the regional vice presidents. Baba Abafumu won the regional vice president. One of the regional vice president. So Dow Abakar was the regional vice president. Baba Herman Ferguson, regional vice president. And then at that time we have determined functional cadre units. And a lot of our units were named after like people like Philadelphia, Richard Adderley. Okay. Like in DC, that Benjamin Banneker City. It's like in our area, we call Dr. John Henry Clark time, but Dr. John Henry Clark is buried here. You know, it's just like in the Bay. I mean, the harbor in Maryland, they call it Harriet Tubman City. You know, so a lot of stuff, a lot of places named geographically named after different individuals in regard to their particular sacrifices. You know, particular sacrifice committed to the struggle of African liberation, Black liberation, New African independence, whatever you want to affirm at that time, particularly whatever your ideology is, right? So it's just a lot of things that the origin itself, you know what I'm saying, it mixed in with everything because we understand that we're revolutionary Black nationalists the way to be. Because Malcolm X told her, like, you know, we may control the politics in our area, we may control the government in our area, we control the economic in our area, revolutionary Black nationalism. And we know they got to be revolution because we're aiming for a particular change in regards to our people, our condition, and our place, right? So by owning, controlling, operating everything in our area, it makes more sense to us. And we also know by international law that we had the right to nationality, no matter what you call it. So you can call it New African nationality, you can call it some more nationality, whatever nationality you call it, Hebrew nationality, whatever you call it, free stuff is, we had the right to nationality. That's a part of self-determination. And self-determination tells us that we had the right to defend ourselves. You know, the right to respect ourselves, the right to arm ourselves, the right to do various other things, so forth and so on, right? You know, and like I said, that attack in '69, it put on a different way because you look at the '60s in regards to all the movement from the Black Panther Party, the Revolutionary Action Movement, the Black Liberation, the original Black Liberation Army, that predates the Black Liberation Army that came out of the Panther Party, the Black Armed Guard, the Black Guard, you know, Ways Ndugu, you know, the new Revolutionary Action Party, so forth, so on, very formation, right? A lot of time in the '60s, we suffer a lot of defeats. A lot of the Panthers and a lot of the other people from a lot of Black Earth movement were being murdered and killed. But it wasn't no time that we actually had victories. At the Virginia Gulf was the first victory that we actually had in regards to, we didn't lose no casualties. And the second victory we had was the Arnell 11. It happened in August 18, 1971, you know what I'm saying, in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? Whereas a couple of people were killed, but we lost no casualties. That was the second victory that we obtained. So ever since then, you look at it, the Virginia government has been on an attack. Been on an attack '69. We attacked twice in 1971. In August 1971 and May 1970, we got attacked twice in Mississippi because we consider our headquarters. You know, because we can identify that the five states were necessary, just the fact that those are the places all the slaves came to. Those are the places we built up, especially in Georgia and South Carolina, where they have what you term the twin cities. Savannah, Georgia, which was the capital of Georgia, the original capital, you know, the seaport. Okay. Charlotte, South Carolina, on the port city. They're known the twin cities. And those two places the slaves were coming to from the ocean. They were the places where the slaves would come to. And majority of the slaves were coming from, a lot of slaves would come from the Nigeria and the Ghana area. A lot of slaves were coming from there. That's what we call them niggers, so forth and so on, right? But, you know, we identify the five states, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, because of the rich land, because of the population, because of the people, because of the resources, right? You know, so we said this all we wanted, you know, and everything outside of it considered foreign territory. But that doesn't mean that we don't have New African cities in other cities and states, because we do. But that's our focus, to own, control, operate, to build our nation, which is New Africa, in the five states. That's our foundation that we want to be here, right? And you look at that, our flag, our national flag, international flag, it's 8 feet long and 5 feet high. It's 5 feet high due to the five states. And 8 feet long because we have a document called H3 Elements, which is an original document that we put out in regard to certain our first strategy, ideas, concept, and ways in which we're seeking to gain the independence that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to come from work. They're going to come from work, study, and training to get these particular aspects and decisions. It doesn't just come from rhetoric alone. And when you look at it historically, a lot of people from different formations, they were part of the founding original cabinet, they came from different formations. There's a lot of formation that actually was involved in the provisional government at that time, like the A-APRP Party. They were once involved in the provisional government. The D12 movement once involved in the provisional government, you know. But it's been various movements all throughout the years that have been involved in certain aspects of the provisional government, what the provisional government going on. You have a lot of popular people, like a lot of the founders came from the New York area. Queen Mother Moore came out of New York at that time. Baba Herman Ferguson came out of New York at that time. King of Surgery Adafume came out at that time, who actually was a king. They got ordained through Nigeria. Imari came out of New Jersey. You know, so there's a lot of East Coast influence at that time. Imari Obadele came out of Philadelphia at that time. So there's a lot of East Coast influence, right? You know what I'm saying? That was associated with our people. And by a lot of association, a lot of the original people, a lot of people at that time that was involved in New York area that involved the Panther Party, a lot of them were country New African citizens as well. Like for instance, Mama Shakur, she was a country citizen, New African citizen, and a part of the Black Panther Party. Baba Sekou Ndinga, country New African citizen and part of the Provisional Republic of Africa. You had the ancestor Matarari Sambaka Sundiata was also got murdered as part of the Black Liberation Army. He was one of the original citizens as well as member of the Black Panther Party. Lamuma Shakur was also the Black Panther Party original member of the Republic of New Afrika. He was a country citizen at that time. Sayles Shakur was also the same thing. So you see the dynamics. I mean, even from 69 to 71 in New York, the PGRNA and the Black Office of Defense were operating on dual ministries. They were sharing particular duties. They had association from the Minister of Defense, Minister of Education, Minister of Information, and so forth and so on, right? They had dual relationships due to their common interest in regards to the grassroots work in the community, revolution work in the community, and basically all the overall needs for their people. So, you know, those are like some of the things that were going on, in particular during those Asian times and decades, right? You know, and I hope that's enough right now. I hope that's enough to the next question, right? Cause I can keep on going on about the information, right?
Oh, that's plenty. We got a couple questions. Thank you so much for like the detailed history and it's necessary that we got people who New Africans who are able to tell our story, able to tell the fact that we've been struggling. We've been finding. We got organizations who are doing this thing. A couple things. As I mentioned, I'm part of the African Revolution Party. I'm also a part of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, and other movements and organizations who are involved in New African New African independence. So, what is the relationship between the provisional government of Republic of New Afrika and other movements for New African independence?
Well, okay, it's like this. A New African independence will consist of various formation, various organizations, as well as families. Okay, for instance, one of the families that consists of like the Shakur family, the Muma family, you know, those, for instance, like some of the formations of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, New African People Organization, the Old Spear Shear Collective, the Rebuild Collective, the All Third Collective, Laura Third Collective Organization, All Third Common Organization. You know, those are just like some of the formations, the New African Vanguard movement. You know, those are like different formation and foundation of the party. The party New African Independence, where the Malcolm X grassroots movement were actually a creation of the New African People Organization. And New African People Organization, they take their roots from it was a call that Dr. Matulu put out that he wanted to start like a different organization in regards to have different needs, or be it to be cadre needs and so forth and so on, right? You know, based on the cadre needs, because Malcolm X grassroots was a cadre organization as well. Okay. Now, the New African People Organization came about from the founding of there's a couple of people who founded were actually the officers at the time that came out of PG, like Baba. You had people like Baba Alma Fumi, who was a regional vice president at one time. You had people like Dr. Matulu, who actually was a regional minister of defense in a particular area at that time. You also saw people like Chocolate Lumumba, who also was a minister of justice at one particular time, right? You know, matter of fact, my bad, Baba Kwame,
yeah,
you know,
There you go.
He Minister far and fast. So those individuals came together with other individuals like Baba Ekene Yamoja, Mama Chagaga Ekiyela, Baba Makunga Ekiyela, Baba Watanatan Yimba, and a few other Mama Nahani Abadon, and a few other individuals. They formed a New African People Organization. That New African People Organization, to their ninth New African Prison Organization, was a formation that later on became known as Spear Shear Collective. Where they deal with the brothers behind enemy lines. Who termed themselves being New African Revolutionary Nationalists. But like from the beginning of the Republic of New Afrika, we call ourselves Revolutionary New African Nationalism, or some say New African Revolutionary Nationalism, right? So New African People Organization started in 1984. The Malcolm X Railroad movement, which was one of their children, started in 1990. They won the children, and also around the time they started having like the Malcolm X festivals during those time, because Baba A.K.A. Mojo he won the first one that actually moved to the territory out of Napo. He moved to Atlanta. Then other individuals like Chokwe moved in Mississippi. Other individuals everybody started coming down. You know what I'm saying? So now the national territory became the headquarters of MAGM territory. It became the territory of them. So the relation is, they're constantly out of the city, just in a different formation, and they're still doing the work. So like other formats, like August 3rd Common Organization, you have People Liberation Army, Rebuild Collective, Spear and Shield Collective, all the New African Revolutionary Nationalists in the prisons in the West Coast, California. All the people doing the work, they're doing the work. They're the conscious citizens, Everybody's a conscious citizen up on the Republic of Africa. But everybody's not a prisoner. All the people in the prison and government are the people who are actually in the cabinet. That's the provisional government, the cabinet members, people who are ministers. Where everything else, everybody else is Republic of New Afrika, because the Republic is everybody as a whole. That's what we call New African Nation or New African Independent Movement. There's everybody as a whole in particular, right? So the relations are there. People just support different formation, doing different work in a different area in particular, and associated with different collections, formations, and cadres. So the relationship, everybody country New African citizens. That's what binds us. We all country New African citizens. So that's unification right there. What we see, and you look at the final bring together, like I was saying earlier, it's somehow unification. Somehow unification, but especially when you got different people in walks of life, they agree to certain things. They're unified for particular purposes. Unified for the purpose of independence. Independence, land, you want to say reparations. How you look at reparation more than just land. Reparation is the aspect of freeing our captured New African citizens. They're the reparations, because they don't belong to the United States, they belong to our nation. So that's part of reparations as well, which is another sensitive thing that people really don't talk about. But when we come to my aspect of genocide, we've been pushing for decades, but even before, the tribunal that took place, Queen Mother Moore pushed talking about genocide in the 50s. She's talking about that in the 50s. In the 60s, she's talking about genocide, with her organizations. She's talking about genocide. Even though it pushed out in 1951, we've been talking about genocide. Really, the government has been involved in the very genocide, reparation program since the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We've been doing certain things that we've been doing something because that's a part of our history. And we go out and be pushing for. That's part of our foundation. Those are some of the things we talked about doing the government conference in 1968. We talked about genocide. We talked about reparations. So we talk about independence. We talk about political freedom. We talk about all this stuff during that time. We talk about having our own national territory, our own identity, our national identity, our own land, our own army. We talk about having our own everything, because it's necessary. Necessary to have it, and one of the things that also that been like people seem to misunderstand that we all have a relationship with the African people. We all have a relationship with our African people. We all have a relationship. Like I was saying earlier, in order to get the Ujamaa document, we had to go to Africa to talk to Julian Erie to get the Ujamaa document. That's how we came about New African Ujamaa. He had to go over there himself to talk to these brothers and sisters over there that were doing certain things, bring it back to us. So relationship always been there. They even went guiding Imari Obadele. I went to Tanzania to meet Robert Williams. They connection with that. They building a connection then. So the international connection always been there. Regardless of the same thing. He actually a New African citizen in various African countries, whether the diaspora, whether the Caribbean. You have citizens everywhere. It's just the aspect of some people might term it dual citizenship, wherever it may be, right? But that been going on for quite some time. Even Bomani Shakur, he went to Ghana and other places. He even got children that went to Ghana. Went to Ghana, had dual citizenship in different places. He was a country New African citizen as well. You know, so the thing ain't been there. You know, even Baba Sekou Odinga, when he was a part of the International Black Panther Party, another person who possibly could have had dual citizenship. You know, I can't say for sure, but he was spreading the document information propagation while he was over there. He was a country New African citizen at that time already. You know, and even when you look at some of the people in the Black Liberation Army, even though it's a belief that everybody black came with the Black Panther Party, that's not necessarily true. You know, so a lot of people in the Black Liberation Army came from formation. Some of them just individually came along. You know, but it also was cadres of people that were New African cadres, like the Armistead Collective that happened in 1975, Virginia. Mama Safa Bakar, all them were New African cadre, from Bob Masai Hosi to the Mama Safa Bakar to the fallen Conrad, Composer Armistead. All were New Africans. You know, even people like I said, Baba Sekou Odinga, country New African. You know, Mama Shakur, country New African. You know, all the people out of the Black Liberation Army. You know, in regard to certain things. So you know, in that particular sense, and like I said, the original Black Liberation Army, it would consist of a lot of people from the Black Guard. And the Black Guard was the security platform for the Revolutionary Action Movement. And a lot of Black Guard became Black Legionnaires when the new program New Africa started. They became resorted to Black Legionnaires. You know, and they looked up at the Chairman Raw, who actually, aka Robert Williams. You know, so the connections are there in regard to historical aspects of things, in regard to movement, in regard to action and activities. You know, so it goes on to say, you know, like when the RD-11 got locked up in 1971, they went into the prison system. You know, a lot of them were inspiring, educating, and influencing people in the prison system. So a lot of the consciousness in regards to the prison was started being developed. But you even go back even farther. You can go back even farther to California, brother like W.L. Nolan. W.L. Nolan was one of the ones with the catalyst with Black August. You know, he murdered W.L. Nolan, Alvin Big Jumpman, and Cleveland Edwards. That triggered Conrad George and other individuals that for retaliating certain aspects, and it became known as the Solidarity Brothers. Well, W.L. Nolan was actually aware of the Provisional government because they were doing certain things at a particular time. The Provisional government was doing certain things, so he spread information at the time in the prison system. That was in California, but whereas when Imari got locked up in Louisiana, all them got locked up. They started spreading in that area, and then they also went down. Also, the brother Geronimo Pratt, who was also a country New African citizen, he got locked in the prison in California. He spread the ideology. He spread the ideology as well. Now, also in the 70s, you had people like Atiba Shana, the other individuals in Chicago that had the State Bureau Prisoner Organization and the Pontiac Prison. They came together. They came together and united for their formation. They came together, you know, and started a New African Prisoner Organization. You know what I'm saying? They came together. Them brothers pushed New African ideology as well. You know what I'm saying? During the 70s and 80s and all in Illinois. You know, so New African independent movement had been existing in the prison struggle for quite some time in regards to our people's education, especially in regard to turning triumph from the criminal mentality to the revolution mentality with Conrad George spoke about. A lot of our brothers and sisters were doing that behind enemy lines, you know, and the movement was spreading out throughout the line, from the RN11, from Steve Shana, from another person that was spreading in California where was the late Conrad Sanyika Shakur. He was spreading it well because he also was a member of Spear and Shield. He was a member of Spear and Shield. Right? He got paid member of Spear and Shield while he was incarcerated. And also, the only person that hold a ministry information position of the Provisional government in prison was T. Bashar. He was the ministry of information there at one time in '96. He was the ministry of information. You know, for about a year, but it didn't go due to the fact that he was incarcerated. He wasn't able to do certain things, but they let it go for a good year. You know, and Deputy Minister Bob Messiah Hosi was a part of Olmsted Collective. It was a part of the book and while before Taifa talking about. He was the Deputy Minister of Information at that time. You know, so like I said, the connections are very broad. They're deep. They're long-standing, and this is very thing that took place throughout the years, right? In regard to who we are. It's been a constant struggle. It's been a constant struggle to get land and independence. A constant struggle to get reparations. A constant struggle to express our self-determination. It's been a constant struggle, throughout the years. So, and not them saying it's a contradiction. That's not saying it's a contradiction. Our independence struggle been going on before it was the New African independent movement. Our independence struggle been going on, like I said, the 1500s in America. Since we've been brought on the chain, since we've been captured illegally. Like Malcolm X said, America means prison. So that naturally put us in the state that we all political prisoners. I say we all political prisoners through change slavery. We human chattel slavery. We property. That aspect been existing for quite some time right now. And I hope that answers your question, brother. I tell you, I'm just connecting the certain dots for you right now, showing you certain things historically.
Yeah, you definitely connected with all the dots. Thank you so much for that. Do you have a question, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think that was a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask in relation to tying in, because now you see the emergence of like movements like the A-APRP, right? American Descendants of Slaves. People want to associate themselves with that. And obviously, over the past like 30 or 40 years, people call themselves African Americans or Black, whatever the case is. I guess maybe if you can emphasize more, I know you alluded to it and you talked about it, but maybe emphasizing the importance of identifying as a new African and just kind of expanding on that identity versus the former ones I was discussing before, like in relation to A-APRP or FBA or African American or Black or whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a historical lesson, right? Now, what you term in the 18th century, you're a brother caught now. His name was Prince Hall. Prince Hall was said to be the father of Black masonry, right? Prince Hall, father of Black masonry. Prince Hall was the first one to talk about going back to Africa in 1777. He the first one to talk about the Black African movement was inspired by him. And in that sense, after his demise, he became known as Prince Hall Masons. And Mark Garber also a Prince Hall Mason. Now, in that particular sense, a lot of people who were following Prince Hall created only called the Free African Society. They were calling themselves Africans at that time. They were calling themselves Africans. They were calling themselves that at that particular time. It wasn't until decades later people started calling themselves Black, African American. It's like W. Du Bois said, African American is being an African American like having a strength personality. You're not said about Africa, you're not said about America. You don't have an identity. And also the late ancestor said in the book The Invisible Man that we don't have no identity, we don't have no purpose, we don't have no place in life. We just invisible. We don't exist, right? And when you look at that aspect of sense, being a new African, it gives you a national identity. It gives you identity, like Dr. John Clark said, who's also a country African, said, and Dr. John Clark said, you got to have a landmass, a nationality, you have a national landmass to identify with, to be a people, to be a nation. So we identify being new Africans. Which is our identity that we on forge throughout our evolution at being human chattel slaveries, from being, indentured servants to being official slaves, 40 years later, different slaves from 1619, our historical origin, to actually being involved in slave rebellions, slave revolts, going off, having our own independent cities and states, counties and other things. Their identity is important due to the fact that we can have something to associate with. We can have something to give a pride, have something to give a love, have something to fight for. We can be recognized internationally. We recognized by our other brothers and sisters in the diaspora as a particular nation. We can't go to Nigeria saying we Black. We can't go to Ghana saying we Black. We can't go to Zimbabwe saying we Black. We got to come as a particular nation. If we go saying we a new African nation and we got a provisional government and we got a government, we can get a better understanding of things. It's just like when Dr. Imari Obadele and met with him, Dr. Imari Obadele, and Baba Ishaq Musa Barashango had met with the late president Robert Mugabe. They had met with him. That was a nation building thing. They met with him. You know, it's like, for instance, like when they went to Tanzania and Rob Williams, you know what I'm saying, with the president at the time, and they met with the dignitary in Tanzania. You know, you got to be able to come to these people on the international level. You got to have something to represent on the international level to get the understanding right. Then also, you know, by having a particular landmass that associate with some kind of control of our own resources, control our own food, control our own hospital, control our own military, control of we can have the aspect that we don't want to have prison. Like you look at Antigua, there wasn't no prisons. We didn't have no need for that. You know, we can use different facilities to facilitate certain things to deal with our mental health, because we suffer a lot of from the mental health issue due to the aspect of genetics of slavery, genetics of scary teachings, the American academic system that tells us all this tomfoolery that doesn't give no place in life, because, you know, American academic system, they don't teach them about ourselves. Everything we learn to be European. You know, so we learn about the Syrian human, Plato, Aristotle, and all the other individuals that had nothing to do with our struggle. Period. Nothing to do with us. They're not teaching us how to buy land. Not teaching us how to save money. Not teaching us how to learn trade defense. They're not teaching none of that. But the European learned all that stuff. You know, so we gotta have something. We gotta have something to give a purpose, to give us race pride, like Mark Garvey say, race first. You know, New African nation. I'm not saying that we haven't had no allies in regard to certain things, but our thing is that we gotta get ourselves together first before we start thinking about anybody else. We can't think about all these European, all the other people just because they want to give us money, or just because they want to donate books and other things. We got to think about ourselves first, man. It's about us. You know what I'm saying? They thinking the same thing. That's why you go. That's why you go to certain places. Yeah, people have this little Italy, this New England, this New Britain. Those are those places. You know, we need a little Africa. We need a little New Africa. So. We need little Zimbabwe, little Mozambique, and we need stuff that identify with us. You know, just like Malcolm X said, you know what I'm saying? We must all become the mama. Basically, we must all live by that aspect, by any means necessary. We must always represent self-determination. And self-determination is more than just physical offense. Self-determination is being able to control your own food. Like you have a community garden. That's self-determination. You know, or you have a community garden where everybody in the community is involved in certain things. No, that's self-determination. There's also nation building at work, because now you associate people in your community. Now you develop a relationship. Now y'all organizing. Now y'all doing everything collectively. You know what I'm saying? Now y'all learn each other. And then y'all having a food, something common, which is the food. You know what I'm saying? You socializing. Those are some of the things that we need to be looking at in regards to who we are. So independence is very important. You know what I'm saying? Very important, because we don't want to be stepped on by nobody's boot. We've been going through that already. We want to be able to do our own thing. We want to be able to live happy and free. Be independent. You know, those are things that are necessary for us. Period. Hope I answered your question, brother.
Yeah, you definitely did, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. Speaking of land, I know you mentioned that there's a tie between New African ends, as well as like understanding that we are African people. And so we'll give more details on like the relationship between like New African independence and like the goal for the revolution part of a united socialist Africa, and also as far as the land here, as well. What relations do you have with the indigenous nations here in so-called in Africa? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I look at it like this. You know, this is the realistic thing. If you identify as being a Pan-African, you understand, or African national, you understand exactly what your goal is. You understand that we're African people globally. So there's no contradiction regarding people calling themselves Hebrew nationals, people call themselves New African nationals, people call themselves Moro nationals, so forth. And there's no contradiction, because you understand that we all people of African descent. That's the first thing, right? Okay. Then the next thing is that you actually have people that are citizens of the Republic of Afrika, and also citizens of the UNIA. And we all know the UNIA, United Negro Association, as an African national organization. You want to say Pan-African national, because Garvey called us a Pan-African. You know, he was an African nationalist. Okay. But, you know, we understand that particular sense of things. So it's very individual that have citizenships in both of them. They actually been doing work in both of the places. Yeah, people been going to Africa doing certain things to be in Africa, Yet people been out trying to be in New Africa as well. So there's no contradiction in regards to the work. It's just the same aim, just different location. It's different. It's the same aim, different location. If we're trying to build an independent nation over here in America, trying to build an independent nation in Africa, they're the same as that thing with different location. So by different location, I mean we have different politics, we have different geopolitical ideology, different climate, you know what I'm saying, different things around, different resources around us, right? You know, so there's no contradiction in regards to that. You know, like I said, a lot of people are involved in both, you know what I'm saying, on various levels. Even when you look at the founders of the All-African People Revolutionary Party, you know, Stokely Carmichael were actually a part of the provisional government. At the early time, he was a part of the provisional government at the early times of the day. You know, they actually documents a letter that I can pull up and show y'all later on in time to minutes that talks about some of the stuff that I'm talking about. You know, things I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about hearsay. I'm talking about for years of work, study, interviewing different people, gathering information, using documentation. So everything I'm saying, everything I'm speaking about can be verified from various sources. It could be written sources, it'd be verbal sources, it'd be oral traditions, it'd be documentary, it'd be book. Everything I'm saying can be verified. You know, because there's no sense of like Baba did great say information is power. You know, so we got to use the information power. You break the right information, it means information, it means we in order. So we got to be in order in regard to what we're saying and doing, right? And then, you know what I'm saying, I hope that answers your question, but on the other end of that question that what they called the American Indian movement. You know, people like Leonard Peltier, who was a political prisoner, that was a part of that. Right now, the American Independent movement, the American Indian movement, form of they formed a treaty with the British Republic of Africa in regard to both of being in regard to relationship of indigenous people on the land, and we want the land as well, you know. So they formed a treaty. And the treaty talked about in some of the old publications of what we're going to term the New African, which was an old publication journal that we had, newspaper. And the deeper you get it, and you insist that the first purpose you use that term, the first use that term as a newspaper, but was Kwame Ture in the early 1950s. It was a term in the newspaper that he started, known the New Africa as well. It was the same term. So when you look at certain things historically and what we're doing, certain things, the continuation, like I mentioned earlier about the Provisional government name, the title of it, you know, the Garveyites, the Black Legionnaire, you know, a lot of this stuff is intertwined with each other, so there's no contradiction. Especially the color red, black, and green, there's no contradiction. If you want red, black, and green, green, red, and black, looking at a lot of the countries of Africa right now, whether in the Caribbean, Asia, other places, they all had the color red, black, and green in them. Even the Rastafarians had red, black, and green in the color. Even when you get into the aspect of, you get even deeper. You get into the aspect of street organization. The All in the Black Peace Stone Nation had red, black, and green. Growth and Development Nation, GD had red, black, and green. You know, that Blood Nation had red, black, and green. It get even deeper when you look at the things, right? They're just on another sense of things to show what the people involved from. You know, okay, very connection on those level too as well. In regard to African independent, what the Black Liberation Movement. But relations there. Another aspect of that, the Watchtower Moors identified Louisiana, that particular territory, right? And we also know that historically, it was certain Moor that was a part of the founding of the government Republic of Africa. It was certain Moor that was involved, you know, well, there's certain Muslims that was involved, you know what I'm saying, in the founding. So the very relationships had been there. Sometimes about some of the relationships have drawn out just the fact that certain people had died or transitioned or been in exile, but a lot of relationships are there and have been there in regard to certain things. You know, we understand it, but we understand the indigenous people, their particular aspects. We understand what the Maroons were doing. We understand, you know what I'm saying, what the people in Brazil, we understand what they like people doing in regard to being indigenous, right? Then we look at it historically, right? Our historically, so to speak, Africans are indigenous to Earth, period. We're indigenous to the whole landmass, you know, in general. So, you know, this is my take on things, and I'm just trying to give you the best information possible, bro. This is my take right now. And that's my understanding on things. I hope that answers your question right now, bro.
Oh yeah, definitely. And another thing is rightly or wrongly, that there's some perception of whether it's a Black nationalism or Pan-Africanism, but there's like all the, like a unit stated with regards to like race first and what Garvey said, and also like his legacy and so forth. But what ways has Provisional Government Republic of New Afrika dealt with, or like what we like to talk about in our work study, like the nation, class, gender analysis? Like what ways do you get around that and discussing that and moving forward for New Africa?
What do you mean by the class and race in general? What do you mean by that in particular?
So understanding that it's that when we talk about like all of the things that are present Africans, New Africans, that it's not only a matter of it is a matter of the fact that we are like African, we are New Africans, but also the fact that because of the fact we're in a capitalist society, that there's also the fact that capitalism and imperialism has an effect on us, as well as far as for women, for African women or African marginalized genders or whatever, that they also suffer from, and from these anti-people sources as well. That and also in the general, like some of the history that whether it's from like the European base hegemony or from how popular that is a sort of like a particular either preference for just the African men, and understanding like that is, since we're trying to free the land and free Africa, free New Africa, that it's got to be Africans fighting against all these systems. So what do you say about making sure that there's like sort of like understanding how things are changing that way?
Okay, well, the first part I'm gonna say, historically, right, there had been two female presidents of the Provisional Republic of Africa. Right now, the current president is a female. Her name is Sister Salma out of Ottawa, Wales. Okay, the first female to be a president was Sister A-APRP, and this was the time during the time we turned the two presidents. Dr. Mardell was the president as well, and at that time, actually, were two provisional governments. There were two provisional governments, but they were functioning as one because you had two presidents and you had three vice presidents. And Tokola Lumumba was the A-APRP vice president. The whole thing about that was it was a thing that at that time Dr. Imari Obadele was incarcerated, and they were trying to figure out that if he could be president by being incapacitated, which means he was not able to do something by being incarcerated. So he had an organization called they were pushing behind called the Malcolm X Party, and the Malcolm X Party they were functioning in Philadelphia, they functioned in DC, and a few other places, right? And they basically campaigned for him to be the president. So he had a lot of votes. So the A-APRP had votes as well. So they came to, instead of separating, coming to division, they came to understand that they both gonna be president, let both of them be the president. They were the only time that the two people became president. So the whole aspect of sexism is something that never existed because, like I was saying earlier, a lot of original cabinet members were females. So the sexism aspect never existed, right? Never existed. Even though sometimes people, like you said, certain tendencies in regard to certain people misassociation, misusing the aspect of patriarchy, aspect of people misusing the aspect of matriarchy, had developed to other conflicts and situations throughout the year in regards to a lot of our movements. We never pushed the aspect that we are oblivious to a person because of their sexuality or because, their gender. We never been oblivious to their people. We also understand that things will be balanced and equal. So, it must be the feminine aspect, whether the material, the masculine aspect in order to get a balance of everything. And this been going on forever because right now, with the printing, we have various sisters that is in position, like the Minister of Education, which is a sister, Sanyika Shakur, co-minister of education. Co-minister of youth, co-minister of education. Sister in COA. She's the co-minister of education. The Minister of Culture, Mama Kandi. So that there's no contradiction in regard to certain things. It doesn't contradict in the context of a particular aspect, right? Now, we understand in regard to class struggle, our thing is that, you know, like our flag said we at the bottom. So we at the bottom. So that the struggle, we come from the lumpness. We come from the lumpness. We come from the people that are workers. We come from the people that are in street organizations. We come to people, you know what I'm saying, that been oppressed by drugs. We come to people that are struggling, the people that who don't own anything. That's why we got independent. That's why you find independent, because we don't own anything. We don't own anything. You know, but you might walk around some joints or air mats stuff you own, or a polo shirt or something like that. That stuff you own. But what about owning the place that make these shirts and shoes and clothes and make these houses? We don't own none of that stuff. So that's our class struggle. Our class struggle that we are poor. You know what I'm saying? And we know that the land is rich, so we want the land. That's our class struggle right there. That's our class analysis. Without going into anything dealing with scientific socialism or the aspect of communism, dealing with some different communist aspects, without going into all that aspect, right? That's the common thing we got people can identify with. Without going into the logistics in regards to the politics and the proper analysis, we're going to dialect, historical material, and what so forth. Without going into all of that, we can identify with the common thing that we all need food, clothing, and shelter. That's our class struggle. Our class struggle, let them know we got to get that. You know, we've been oppressed. We need to get that food, clothing, and shelter. You know, we need that. We look at all the food being controlled. You know what I'm saying? Look at the aspect. Look at the thing that Bill Gates talking about. You want everybody to have artificial food. Look at the aspect. You go into the grocery store, fruits and vegetables only have seeds on them. You know, look at the aspect how people trying to control seeds. You know, food is power. Even when you go to war, and the soldier ain't able to eat. The soldier might be able to eat during war. Eventually, the soldier gonna turn on each other because they get hungry. They're gonna get hungry, they're upset, they're gonna turn on each other. You know, so that's our class struggle in regard to certain things. You know, and that's a class struggle in regard to gender, class, and struggle. You know, but those are some of the things that actually relate to the work we were doing in particular. You know, they just understand that I have and that was presented to me, right, in regard to certain things. You know, even a document written by Mama Almanaja Demoja, who actually one of the founders of the Malcolm X Festival in Atlanta. She wrote a document talking about the role of New African women in New African nation. And it kept being republished over and over again throughout the Crossroad journals. I mean, the Crossroad was a publication of the Crossroad Network was came out of Spear Shear Collective. Later on came Spear Shear Collective. They also republished in a newspaper called a Rebuild newspaper from the Rebuild Collective. You know, to show the importance of it. And then you look at things from the Pan-African aspect, the ancestor who was it? Sanyika Ture. Sanyika Ture wrote about the importance of the African woman revolution. You know, so there's no misunderstanding or contradiction regarding it. You know what I'm saying? We need each other to exist. We need each other to build. We build a nation. We need each other to build a nation. We can't build a nation by ourselves. We need each other to exist to build a nation. You know, so that's my assessment and that's my answer to your particular question, right? I hope that was feasible for you. You know, I hope that was understandable, right?
Right, definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Is there a question?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned a lot of great people who are in your organizations, did a lot of work. I think one person who has a distorted history, at least in the mass media, is one member that people may or may not know is a member of Tupac Shakur. I don't know if you want to outline some of his contributions to the New African People's Organization and some of his political work and the origins of his work in the party.
Well, he wasn't a part of New African People Organization. You know, New African People Organization was a lot of the elders. He wasn't old enough to be a part of that. Now, if he would have made the choice, he could have been a part of the Malcolm X grab movement. If he made the choice, which is a younger generation thing. Tupac actually was a when you look at his story, his mom was a Cotton New African citizen. Mama Afeni Secure. Where his father, which is really his some say stepfather, but in the Africans, ain't no step anything. It's his father, Dr. Matula, Baba Matula, one that founded the Republic of Afrika. Also, one of the founding members of the New African People Organization, one of the founding members of the Malcolm X grab movement as well. Now, Tupac in 1989 was the chairman of what they called the New African Panthers. Okay, New African Panther was an organization, you know what I'm saying, that were created and pushed by New African People Organization. You know, he was the chairman of that. So he had a strong relationship to Bawatan Yimba, who actually was a founder of the U.F.P. What Malcolm X, who actually had managed at that particular time. Now he also used Chocolate Lumumba as the attorney, who was also a founder of the U.F.P. organization, as well as Malcolm X, that was the attorney. He also had a relationship with Sanyika Shakur, with Bawatan Yimba had doing security for him, doing some of his events when he coming to L.A. He had A.K. Masako doing security, who was also kind of U.S. citizen. So Tupac actually spoke about revolution. He talked about U.S. independence. He talked about having your own land. He talked about having your own community. He did things a different way. And also, a lot of stuff he was talking about the thug commandment, things of that nature, that actually what orchestrated and helped created by Dr. Matulu, helped create a lot of aspects to give people a different sense of things in regards to elevating the street community in regard to a particular aspect, because Tupac actually, he also was pushing what people want to turn to RBG movement. He was pushing that to a certain extent in regards to a lot of the people in the RBG movement came to street on. A lot of people was Crip, Blood, GD, Vice, other things of that nature, right? So Tupac, made a lot of contribution in regards to the things he said in his music, which is art, some of his particular works in regard to speaking with certain people, in regard to being in certain situations with people like Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who was a New African citizen. He was a New African citizen as well. A lot of the individuals have been connected with the New African movement at certain time. But Tupac, his contributions through his art and his literature and his words. There were a lot of his contributions. He also did a lot of work with the youth in regard to coming to New Africa, dealing with New African Scouts. New African Scouts, as well as Camp Zico with the New African Scouts in Atlanta and the Georgia area. He went to a lot of their camps, in regard to dealing with the kids, different things in regards to educating them, talking to them, mentoring them, things of that nature. So there was some of his involvement, like mentorship, education, in music, his influence to be able to reach people. He reaching people. You can reach somebody from the street level, then you just drop history on them. You come from you helping them. You educating yourself, you helping them, and what they helping you say, you helping them move. So they're like some of the contributions that he contributed in regard to who he is, his individuality, his identity, contributed to people. Like I said, he associated with various people. Like imagine being by Time Yimba at one time for a couple of years, Chocolate Moon being a lawyer, defending him in courtroom. Interview like Baba Bafumi, being around him. People like Baba Sunni Ali, individual individuals been around him. Through a lot of children, the elders been around him and associated with him. It's a relationship with Baba Dr. Pantsula Shakur, So it's a lot of contribution. It's like if you're doing certain things, right, like having concerts and like that, Tupac engaged presenting music for certain New African, certain aspects of things. So it's a lot of different history in regards there, right? So that people don't, it's a lot of things that people don't talk about, because I guess some people don't see the same thing necessarily, even know certain aspects of certain truths, right? But that goes on to let me say that it's an organization there called New African Panther Party, right? A lot of people mistake that as the New African Panther Party, They weren't the same thing. New African Black Panther Party not the same, and New African Panther Party with Tupac came from, not the same exact thing. A lot of people mistake that as being the same exact thing. Well, New African Black Panther Party turned up on the chairman Shaka Zulu. They're not even part of New African, but they only identify New African, but they only identify the land. They don't identify not our concept. They identify the Code of Moses, New African Creed, New African Oath. They don't identify with none of them. They identify more with the line of Huey. Intercommunalism, Black Panther Party line. They just happen to have the title New African in front of being black. Which I feel like it could be possibly it's a contradiction because what are you saying? What are you using the term for? Well, you don't identify with it. It's just my take on things, right? And also, Sanyika Shakur talks about that in the book, Stand Up and Struggle Forward. He wrote articles about it. He put the articles in the book called Stand Up and Struggle Forward. He talks about it when he had a when he had a conversation with Karen Rashid Johnson. You know what I'm saying? They were going back and forth. Karen Rashid Johnson wrote it part, he wrote it part. In regards to the contradiction of them talking about using the term New African, when Karen Rashid Johnson said they don't feel the need. They don't feel the need, you know what I'm saying, for the 5 states. They don't feel the need for independent. They don't feel the need but they call some New Africans. You know, so that's a different story though. You know, but there's a lot of organizations that use the term New African, like New African Independent Party. New African Independent Party is on the line of the Black Panther Party too as well. You know, the elder Khalid Rahim. I don't know why they use the term New African, but I do know that a lot of people now in this current 8th decade, era use New African as a way to say that you're not Black. And also, according to the Code of Emotion, it said that everybody's a New African citizen until he or she said it's not. But you're on a conscious citizen when you actually active in doing the work to get independent. Then you're a conscious New African citizen. Other than that, if you're born in the womb of an African woman, a New African woman in America, you know, you're a New African citizen. But you're not on a conscious New African citizen until you start doing the work. You had to make that commitment. You made the commitment. You made that Declaration of Independence. You take the New African oath. You made that effort to put the particular work in. Then you're a conscious New African citizen. You know, so it's just a lot of different things that are out here, man, that people be talking about that you actually see for yourself actually what's going on. You come from the information perspective. But there's a lot of things that need to be clarified in regard to who's and what's what and what's not, you know, because it's a lot of times people, especially on social media. Social media has its goods to it, but it has its bad because a lot of people think that you can organize on social media. Like there's a lot of organizations that use social media to recruit people. Now, I understand that method, but on the same token, how can you have meetings on social media? How can you do this on social media? Like a lot of the individuals, you never even met these, you never seen these people's face. A lot of people you never seen these face, you seen their face for 7-8 years. How you know it's a real person? You never seen their person's face. You know, you never seen their face, you never seen them face to face, you never seen them on video or anything. You know, how you know the individual that you're talking to? You know, those a lot of times people doing it, use these social media aspect for numbers, and also for the aspect of being notable. You know what I'm saying? Social media celebrities or YouTube scholars, wherever it may be at that particular time, man. But you know what I'm saying? My thing is that I understand the power of information, man. So our aim to present the best thing that's possible for the people and the masses, and that's why you know what I'm saying? A lot over the year, New African Independence movement had kind of dissolved over the year, right? You know what I'm saying? And I made it my duty with the Georgia University Radio to put New African Independence movement out there as much as possible. Interview different people from New African Independence. Interview people like Bob A.K., A. Canadian Moser, for NAPO, MAGM. Interview people like Bob Watanya from Indianapolis, MGM. Interview people like Bob Hunter from Speed and Sheer Rebel Collective. Interview people like Bob Messiah Hoster with New African Political Prism. Interview people like Mama Nkechi Taifa. You know, just so forth. So interview different people to put it back out there so people can see exactly what it is from our particular perspective and narrative, control the narrative as much as possible, because we understand that everything we put out there, if it be on Zoom, if it be on Google, if it be on Twitter, whatever, Instagram, the information is all infiltrated already, due to the fact that we don't control the platform. So every time we get, it's on us to control the narrative, to put it in our perspective, so we can see it from our perspective. And once we do that, it's on the individual to make the decision if they want to accept it or not, if they want to get involved or not, you know? So our thing is that, like the Experience Shield Collective wrote years ago, study notes, secure communication. So we won't fool ourselves again. We got to secure our communication, so we won't fool ourselves again. We keep fooling ourselves without communication, we're going to get things done. You know, certain things are meant for verbal conversation, certain things are meant for face-to-face conversation. It's a time, place for everything, you know, so that's just my little take on some of this stuff, man, that we're talking about, man. You know, I just want to mention that, man, just to get some clarity, you know, like those two formations in general are not a part of New African Independent Movement. They are not New African, period. They're New African in the sense that they're people from African descent, but they're not conscious New African people, because they're not conscious New African citizens. nor they formation, kind of New African formation, they identify with New African. They don't identify the code of Mo, like I said. They identify the New African Creed, New African Oath. You know, so they don't all the formation organization and New African independent movement identify with that. Identify with the New African Creed, New African Oath, identify with all that. You know, they understand that. If you don't identify with those, you know, so you ain't a part of our movement. You ain't talking about land and independent. You ain't a part of our movement. That's just the reality. New African Liberation Movement is actually a clever way to say Black Liberation Movement. You know, it's a clever way to say that. It's the same thing. Like people have been talking about building the Black Liberation Movement for a long time, rebuilding it. So people know that now that people you're going to gravitate to the term New African. So that's another way to gain people's interest. You know, New African Liberation Movement. We identified New African Liberation Movement, and that term actually was created during the time that when during 83, I think, when they had a New African Nation Day, Black Nation Day at that time, when they trying to bring everybody back together and build certain things. Some people associate that terminology being synonymous with New African Independent Movement. But when you look at it realistically, and why people utilize what people doing, you know what I'm saying? It's not what it was initially created with. It had changed, and now it no longer associated with being associated with New African independence no more. It's associated with Black liberation, you know, which is something totally different than our particular ideology that we follow. You know, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and just to kind of harp on some of the things you said, especially like in relation to organizing people nowadays with social media and things of that nature. Like, how do you, I guess, what methods do you guys use to try to organize, like utilize, I know you mentioned the radio as like propaganda, and also how do you view social media in general? Is it just to bring awareness? Obviously, I know you said you guys don't look to use the platform as a means to organize people, but maybe is it a way to bring awareness? Because I think in general, the New African Independence Movement, you know, to some people, they're not really familiar. You know, people are familiar with Black Panther Party. People are familiar with certain things. Even with our party, I feel like people are not really familiar with us. So I think there has to be some type of notoriety to galvanize people for them to know who we are. So I guess what ways and methods do you guys use is the forms of propaganda and just to organize people in general in this new day and age where social media is like a big thing?
Oh, okay. You know, social media is, like I said, it's an information hub. We have an Instagram page called PG Republic of New Afrika. We have an Instagram page. We have that Instagram. We got a Twitter page called Republic of New Afrika. We have a Facebook page called Republic of New Afrika. We also have a website called www.pg-rna.com. On the website, you go on the website, you create an account, you sign in, and you'll be able to look at view the material on there. And also, once you sign in, we also have what you call a New African census form, which is a way to keep up with our people. Where is that? How you communicate, how you reach out to them by email, and other aspects of things of that nature, right? Whereas all the social media platforms are used for informational purposes. Like, say, for instance, if an event is happening with a PG or NAPO, image, and whatever, you put the information out there. People see the flyer. People go to the events. They can be educated face to face. You know, then face to face, they can learn up. They can see they want to join or not, whatever they want to do. You know, you can use that aspect to reach out to people and find out people at. If somebody in the area already, we're gonna send such them. If somebody in the area, somebody part of it, we can send them there, do that. You know, so the social media is used for the aspect of sharing awareness, presenting information, like I said, for people to make their conscious decision what they want to do. Because the longer the people don't know what's going on, that they ain't gonna be able to make the decision they want to get involved in because they don't know. So social media is a platform used for awareness, bring awareness, share information so people can know certain things, like to see historical relationship between the PG and the American Indian movement. You see relationship between the PG, you know what I'm saying, the Pan-Africanism movement. See relationship to the PG, you know what I'm saying, the prison movement. See relationship to the PG and NAPO. Relationship between NAPO and Norm from the Shoe Line in California. See relationships of our great authors, people who done wrote books, Mama Nkechi, Baba A.K., know what I'm saying? Dr. Imari Obadele. See relationships, see information. Be aware, to be educated to what particular books and documents out there so they can get access to them. That's what it's all about. That's what social media is about for me. You know what I'm saying? When the work I do as a minister of information, that's what I do in particular. And you the propagation of what you got to be a propagandist of what you propagate. You got to make it your life. Whatever you do, got to be propagation. If it be something you wear, something you say, something you do, even stuff you eat, sometimes it be propagation. Especially during the age like people now, a lot of times, it's kind of sad because during the time Mark Garvey wasn't on social media, but he would even organize like 12 million people. Okay. At that time, they're kind of sad because now you look at things that every time you turn around, you got a water bucket challenge, or you got a TikTok challenge. Damn, you got all these challenges, right? But what are these actually challenges doing for the people? Are these challenges feeding you? Are these challenges putting clothing back, challenging your house? What about all these homeless people? You know what I'm saying? What about your home? What about all these people incarcerated? What are these people missing? What about all the people who can't read, can't write? What are people who don't know how to use the internet? Are you teaching internet literacy classes? White people who don't know how to create a resume. And nothing I'm trying to do nothing for the people. You feel what I'm saying? So it did certain things. It's a lot of distractions. Social media, you got distracted me. Also, that according to the state, I'm gonna say it's a book called the Chicago Gang Book. The Chicago Gang Book was written by the CIA, FBI, Chicago Police Department, other gang type of other organizations, right? They came together, put it together. The thing was to monitor the organization Chicago. They would turn GD, Vice Lord, Stone Era, Vice Lord, Folk Hunter Hustlers, Mickey Cobras, and Black Disciples, and Latin King, Latin Disciples, so forth and so on, right? And within the book, there's a section that talks about social media. They mentioned when Twitter was created, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApps, and a whole bunch of other websites. They mentioned when they were creating everything, the date and time and everything. Then they also mentioned how they utilize those platforms to gather information on people considered to be in street organizations and gangs, right? Now, when we look at it realistically, right, if we look at what Kwame Ture were doing when they created 1948, what they were doing and everything, we think about Kwame Ture were created, it wasn't no Black Panther Party. It wasn't no SNCC. It wasn't no RAN. It wasn't Republic of Afrika. Their thing was to neutralize what they want to term the communists, neutralize the communist people. That was the extension of it, and even going back to the first person to be attacked with Marcus Garvey. During the time Marcus Garvey was attacked, he was allowed what they called the African Blood Brotherhood, which was a communist organization, a Black communist organization at that time. So they even deeper into the politics. World War II. They both about politics. The Western Europeans identified with imperialism and capitalism and fascism. The Eastern European identified with communism, you want to say Marxism, and socialism. So it was an ideological war, ideological struggle. And we got caught up in that during the 60s and 70s. We got caught up in a lot of that stuff by identifying certain politics, But that's on another note, though, man. But when you look at the sense of that, right? They actually been using, what I'm saying? And you have the National Security Organization, National Security Association have been monitoring phone calls in the 60s. Like during that time, you were like 5 million phone calls. I know it in the creek, they were monitoring phone calls during the 60s and everything. They were monitoring our phone calls. So their thing is to disrupt, corrupt, and cause confusion with our organization, formation, and movement. So we can be divided, so they can conquer us. So those some of the things that they've been utilized on Facebook, social media, Twitter. And also we also know that in up under the security threat groups, we have movements such as Nation Islam, or Scientific, Republic of Africa, Black Panther Party, African Party, so forth and so on. They're considered to be security threat groups. Or some would say gangs. We understand that that's in their own documentation. And anything that against what Malcolm called dollarism, which is Americanism, it considered to be a threat. The work we're doing there is a threat. Just having the conversation we're having there is a threat. to them, it's counter-revolutionary. It counter-revolutionary to them. To them, we being criminals. We're being criminal right now because we're talking about things that are necessary fall into their scope of things, their ideology, and necessarily fall into what they want us to do or how they want us to think. So we're being criminals right now. We're being outlawed because we're against their law in particular. So, you know what I'm saying? We're violent right now, you know. But that's all I'm going to say about that, man. You know, like I said, you get into other things, man. I hope that answers your question, though, bro.
Yeah, definitely did, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I know you mentioned like work with politicizing people who are incarcerated, Africans in street organizations. We don't really talk too much about, but can you talk more about some of the things that the provisional government has done with that?
Well, you talking about in regards to the street organization? Well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, there was a movement in Chicago called the. I'm gonna take you back to the Illinois State prison system. And in the Illinois prison system, you had a New African Prisoner Organization, Crossroad Network, Spear and Shear Collective. All of them were the same organization at different times, throughout different years and time, they had different names. Okay. One of the primary people that people know about is a Taifa known as Yaki Yakubu. And it actually was a lot of brothers that actually was in Vice Lord, Black Peace Stone, Gang Disciples, Black Disciples, and so forth, so on. They actually got educated by the New Africans in there, and they changed their mentality. They changed the criminal mentality to New African mentality. They were educated. A lot of them came up to the streets, started doing work in particular. There actually was a situation called the Pontiac Brothers. Okay, the Pontiac Brothers was a case that happened in I think it happened in April 1978 in the Pontiac prison, where some pigs got killed and everything. And what they did, it actually was 33 people at first. 15 of the people were Hispanic, Latino. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want them. They wanted all the brothers. They wanted all the brothers, right? Who was in part of different leadership, vice lords, people like Benny Lee, Ike Taylor, Larry Hoover. They were in leadership position in the organization, right? They wanted them. So they turned them what they called the Pontiac Brothers. And they place all 17 of people on death row. How can you place all the people on death row for just killing like one or two people? That don't even make sense. But they place all them on death row. Okay, while they on death row, one of the main people that helped them was a New African attorney, Choke Lamoon. He helped them get out, resolve their case, as well as Baba Kwame Ture. You know, so they helped them with both of them found them as a NAPO, New African People Organization. Okay, where they had a relationship with Atiba Shama, who was one of the founders of New African Prison Organization. That's how they were able to use their initials. Okay, so the case lasted for like 3 years. 1981, the case was dissolved and everything, and a lot of these individuals, they became our death row. But while the case was going on, all the brothers came together for their formation and created what you call Brother of the Struggle. Someone turned boss. They created Brother of the Struggle. Okay, when they created Brother of the Struggle, some of the individuals actually became New African citizens at the time. Some of the individuals became New African citizens during those times. You know, they started doing work in particular, and a lot of New African independent movement one of the great influence that inspired a lot of these brothers. Inspired a lot of these brothers to make the transition from being gang members, street organization, and so forth, so on, to being really a political organization. Because right now, you look at the Jericho list, you have very people from the formation that are considered political prison, like Mami Kabir. Mami Kabir, A.K. never made a lot of them being one of the Rookie case, the Milson case. You know, and he actually got locked up at one of the New African citizens apartment in Chicago. And also his sister, Mami Kabir's sister, it wasn't brother-in-law, you know what I'm saying, is New African citizen, and his sister was actually the Minister of Education at one time of the prison government. Okay, so when he went to court, he told the people he was a New African citizen. You know, he went to court. And then when he listed as New African political prisoner up on the Jericho National website. Also got people like Larry Hoover, as well as Imam Lee, Jeff Ford. They are also New African citizens. But they don't just tell about it, like they're New African citizens as well. And you look at these brothers' minds, these brothers don't change throughout the years. Look at their mind state. Look at what Larry Hoover talks about. Look at what Jeff Ford talks about. Look what these brothers talks about, you know. And then also when you get even deeper into the aspect, like a lot of new Africans in California, like I was speaking earlier about Geronimo Pratt, Sanyika Shakur, and other individuals, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these brothers, it was a lot of brothers that came to the prison in California that came from the Black Liberation Army. And a lot of these brothers who came from the Black Liberation Army were also cutting new African citizens. And they started spreading their politics in the prison system. You know, then during the 80s, a lot of these movements like Crips and Bloods, they became politicized and educated by a lot of new Africans. So instead of being Crips, they became Kiwi. Instead of being Blood, they became Damu. Because it's identified with African ideology, it's identified with African politics, African culture, different ways of life. They became educated. They started changing their mentality to do things that are productive. You know, that things are productive in the people. You know, so they're just a little that's a little sensitive thing. And also another thing is that in Chicago they had what you call the New African Learning Centers. New African Learning Center taking name. It actually was like the Jackson the Lumumba Jackson Center. Okay, Juma Jackson Center. A lot of people who were at the school were caught new African citizens, right? And it first started out, it was in a Black Peachstone neighborhood, right? And the thing they wanted to do was they wanted to educate the street organization, the Black Peachstone, whether the GDs and other aspects, to stop selling dope, stop robbing, to become new African citizens, you know what I'm saying, and just do things that new Africans supposed to be doing, like building the community up, nation building. So that was in Chicago. Feel what I'm saying? So all these are the many examples that I'm showing right now, so you can see that different perspective. Even you go deeper, you go back to the Black Panther Party again. Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying, actual recruit street organizations, especially in LA, a bunch of Carter them, the Slauson, in New York, you know what I'm saying, with Lumumba Shakur and Seiko Dinga, who were street organization members, and Chicago, you know what I'm saying, people who were street organizations, they were recruited from their aspects. That same thing went into the African independent movement in the 70s, 80s. Same as that thing. You know, it's no different. It's just the time and period era. You know what I'm saying? When things took place, the same as that thing. Same as that thing, man. So you know, the work is all there. It's like now, it's a class of political printing called the Shoe Line in California. Shoe is security housing unit, a special housing unit where you lock down 23 hours a day, but majority 24 hours because they ain't getting a rate on yard call. Okay, these members are locked down for being new Africans. They turn into new Afro-Revolutionary National. They've been creating a lot of journals, books, publications. Like one of the founders of our organization, Georgia University, they one of the individuals, Abdul Shakur. He one of those individuals, you know what I'm saying, that had been persecuted at New African Revolutionary National, New African political prisoner, just for writing the documentation. Like he been locked up in the shoe. You know what I'm saying? Due to a political belief. But he went in, he came into the prison system as a member of the Black Liberation Army, as a Black Panther Cub as well, already. You know, so those are some of the persecutions. A lot of brothers have been locked down in the shoe 30 years, 20 years, 25 years and everything because of their political beliefs. And they actually won a lawsuit. One of the brothers named Tope de Guma won a lawsuit some years ago to basically allow them to be released out the shoe program that talks about, you know what I'm saying, that new African is a national identity, it's a political identity. They're not associated with being gang members and everything because they lock people up in the shoe for saying they were gang members because they were saying new African. But the court document showed and proved that this is an ideology. You know, this is a working effort that they're doing in order to build a community up. This is something positive. You know, they consider criminal about them because it's something against Americanism, but it doesn't show that they're gang members. He actually won a lawsuit, and that lawsuit trickled off people being released from the shoe. But they want to say that like a European, like it was a European that caused it, like Tar Asher, like the Asher, they called it the Asher case, but really it was our brother, James Crawford, aka Tope de Guma. You know what I'm saying? That made this victory for us, for our brother to be released. Since then, brother been released into the main line. And also, brothers have been released out of prison after 30 and 40, 50 years since then. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, bro.
Yeah, big time. Thank
you. Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah. I guess if you just want to outline, like maybe some of the current work you guys are doing now, and maybe plug in any events you guys coming up, like right before we wrap up.
Okay. Well, one of the things I know we're working on right now is New African Nation Day. New African Nation Day is gonna take place next year in Birmingham, March 25th to March 27th. It's gonna take place in Birmingham at a place called the Crescent Cultural Center. And one of the preacher culture is a brother from Nation Islam, but he also kind of African citizen. And some of the things that are going to occur now is it's going to be things such as classes, some class talking about dealing with survival, class dealing with emergency preparedness, class dealing with nation building. You know what I'm saying? Groups, things geared toward the youth, education aspect, community outreach, so forth, so on, right? But they'll also commemorate British Republic of New Afrika. There's going to be different literature there, different propagation, different things taking place. You'll be different government officials there. That's next year. Then right now, next week, we have what you call the People City Council. People City Council is our government body. People City Council, headed by the chairperson. People City Council going to meet next weekend in Jackson, Mississippi, which is considered our headquarters, Mega Evansville. You know, we're gonna meet there. It's gonna be a tour, a chocolate woman grave site. It's gonna be a tour of the Nation House. In regard to the House of Belongs to Britain, it's gonna be a tour of the place of the sites of the RNA 11 when they were attacked on Lewis Street, which Mama Talmuda made a book about the Lewis Street at RNA 11. They're taking place next week. You know, so all the citizens, as well as people that are interested, can join into the event. You know, then also we're gonna have a radio show. The third Monday this month we have a radio show publication that we do called RNA Radio, PGR Radio. So those are just some of the things right now that I can tell you off the top of the head that we're doing. People get involved with, you know, and like I said, varied people in various districts. We have public districts that we got that are doing work in particular. You know what I'm saying? That deal with self-determination. They're doing work in particular. You know, and also that you can reach us on our website, some of our Instagram, Twitter page, so forth, so on. But you definitely can reach on these websites to get more information, to get involved, and learn more.
All right, brother. We definitely appreciate you joining this podcast, man, and happy on this episode. We look forward to possibly, building and working with you guys, outside of this, obviously. And thank you again. And we appreciate everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Pantsula Podcast. I'm not even going to try. Maybe Evan, if you want to go ahead and plug in all the other, I'm bad at that. All the other podcasts that we have within the party.
They also have the. We talked about before we started. We have the weekly Pan-African news with coming out on Sanwu out in New Mexico. Also got our ancestors' voices with Jamu and Shakur, father and daughter, out in California. There's also the Forward Effort podcast on Spotify. You also have Revolutionary African Women podcast once a month and last Saturday of the month. And of course, you got Pantsula Podcast Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, check those out. And as Brother Bomani was saying, you got to organize, be the conscious New Africanism, conscious African. So be out there, do your work, do that work study, and organize. Organize.
Yeah, if you're not a part of an organization, we employ you to join one. If you're not, if you feel like none of the organizations around you are feasible, we definitely employ you to start your own. So definitely struggle on every level you can as possible. So we appreciate you guys again, and look forward to catching you next week for whatever.